Hello and welcome to Building People, a podcast highlighting the individuals behind construction projects and the stories that we live. I'm your host, Richie McNamara. I politely ask that you make sure you're following us, C.E Floyd, on Instagram and LinkedIn, while we get started with this episode of Building People. In today's episode, I'm joined by pre-construction manager Christopher Dittrich to talk about sustainability and what it looks like in our industry. Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Do you want to explain what your role is here at C.E Floyd? Just introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Christopher Dittrich. I'm the pre-construction manager in our Connecticut office, and I've been with C.E Floyd for just over 2 years now. Mm-hmm. Working on, just helping our clients and design teams in the early coordination and planning of their projects.
Yeah, that's great. And what I want to talk to you about today is sustainability in the construction industry and your background with it, your perspective on it, how it relates to the pre-construction process and all that.
Sure.
So your background in sustainability with C.E Floyd, recently you were the moderator of a panel with AIA, which I attended. It was very good. Great job. You did the pre-construction for our Food Bank of Western Mass project, which is one of our net zero projects. And you're also working on starting our recycling program. You've started tracking all of our recycled waste and stuff, which I think is great that we are keeping tabs on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like you said, the moderator event was really exciting to be a part of. Just had a great cast of professionals on the call with me. It was the primary focus was early input from our from the teams and from the clients in their early gathering process and pulling this all together. It really it makes an impact when you have those discussions at a really early process. That was probably one of the biggest things that we got out of that call and the approach and the ways to get there and adapting sustainability into the project. You had mentioned the food bank project too, which is again it's just another great process. We were involved from day one when they were starting the design of the project, so we were able to really be impactful in that process and help guide them along the way. And coming up with a net zero project, which is really exciting and awesome for the community and obviously for the environment as well.
Yeah.
And then the recycling program too is just it's almost like low hanging fruit. Like when I project managed work, it was everything just went into one dumpster and went away, and it was so wasteful. And it was disheartening to see.
Yeah.
Now we finally are in the ability to make a change, be part of an organization that wants to make a change. Yeah. It gives us the ability to do these things and put these programs together, which is really cool. I remember my daughter came home maybe last year or so, and my youngest daughter too. Now she's starting to bring stuff home from school, and they're both in 4th and 1st grade. Mm-hmm. And they talk about recycling and they talk about all these things, and it's all the same content that we learned as kids too when I was in school at that age, and the importance of recycling. And my parents, like that generation, was like, okay, great, throw the milk carton out, right? But now, like when they come home and stuff, and share it with me, it's like, okay, now I'm in a position in my career, and my generation is at that point in their career that they can actually be impactful and put these policies into place, that the kids can learn it in school, but they can't implement it in the real world. They're not old enough yet to do that. And our generation is now, like, we're in that position to take that leadership role and do those things. And that's not the driving force behind the recycling program, but it's it's something that obviously C.E Floyd had a mission to do. And I was just fortunate enough to kind of, take the bull by the horns and be able to kind of get it implemented and rolling, and tracking it on a monthly basis is great for, for all of our clients and for all of our staff here too, that they, they see these results on a monthly basis, and it's not just, hey, we're doing recycling, like make sure this goes there. Like there's stats that are published every month, and, we're monitoring those things, and it's really exciting to see.
from a marketing standpoint, like we're very grateful that you've started this, but I'm sure like every facet of our company, like it's very helpful. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled about it. So you kind of started touching upon this, but what are your what's your personal background with sustainability? Why is this something that you are focusing on?
It's because I'm at a point in my career where we could actually make change, right? And really do it and see it come together and actually be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real. It's there. There's businesses out there that offer these opportunities for recycling. You just need to be able to find who they are.
Mm-hmm. And,
we have some strategic alliances with the right trade partners that are like-minded like us that want to be impactful. Mm-hmm. And we're able to, work with them and partner with them and bring it to our clients.
Yeah. So, we talk about sustainability. It's kind of just like a broad word, umbrella term type of thing. But what does this actually look like in our projects? What are the choices that we can make that are sustainable for the earth and the environment?
A lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So it's that was part of our topic in our moderator event. It's like, sustainability is always on the agenda.
Right.
To start off the meeting and okay, what does that mean, right? Sustainability means a million different things to people, mm-hmm. right? It could be just a recycling program and that's enough, right? Then there's mechanical systems that can be implemented to provide sustainable options. There's building materials that have sustainable options. There's prefabrication that can, lead to less people traveling to the job sites, and we can prefab these things in one central location and then bring them to the jobs, right? Mm-hmm. Prefabrication, it's good for the projects in terms of scheduling because mm-hmm. it's hard to find the labor forces these days to have all the crews out there working. Mm-hmm. But they can do these things, at their facilities and make them and then ship them out, right? So, it's got benefits on the scheduling and labor side, mm-hmm. but it also has the benefits on the environment as well, and reducing all the vehicles that are traveling to a job site and all the barges that are coming from all over the world to bring materials to the United States to be built, right? So looking at materials that are, made in America, again, the prefab options of it, it's so many variables and levels that, but it really all depends on how deep the client wants to go. Yeah. The big part in our pre-com process is to talk about it early, right? Mm-hmm. And to have those discussions in the first couple meetings, establish what the goals are, right? And then make sure that, we're all tied to what those goals are, and it's not just, we're tying our trade partners to it in our contracts, our design teams being held accountable mm-hmm. in the design process, and we're just working all the way through. As long as it's a goal for everybody, it can be met. Yeah. One
of the takeaways I had from that panel was having a champion at every stage. So even down to the interior design, making mm-hmm. sure that it's a priority for everyone down the line. So for not just the construction industry, but AEC in general, what do you think that the industry as a whole could be doing better in terms of our general attitudes and maybe some specific examples?
I think the recycling thing is just, it's almost low-hanging fruit that everybody should be doing. Yeah. Everybody always thinks sustainability costs more money, mm-hmm. And that's not always the case. Yet there could be premiums to it, mm-hmm. but there's grant programs out there. There's professionals out there that you just need to sync up with early that can help guide you along that process, because the incentives are there. It's just a matter of finding out which ones are there and then being able to, capture that delta of money that it's going to cost to make that change. With the rebates that are out there, there's, certain equipment that will give you X amount of dollars, right? And being able to select that equipment earlier and know that that's going to be the piece of equipment that you're using, that's key, right? Because now you can get those incentives and that those dollars are real and you can put them towards that project or put those credits back into the project.
Mm-hmm. Something we talked about a little was how construction and demolition waste are a huge part of what makes up the landfills globally. I think I have this stat here. Construction and demolition waste resulting from the construction sector accounts for 30% of total waste globally. You mentioned specific like ceiling tiles, for example, are things that can't really be broken down.
Mm-hmm.
So what are these choices that we can make? Like having a different dumpster for cardboard, having a different dumpster for something like ceiling tiles.
Right.
Are these things that you've seen?
We're working with and trying to work through the ceiling tiles and carpeting are probably the two worst things that could go to a landfill because they really don't break down over time. But partnering with the right manufacturers early, right? So that's getting the design teams to select these manufacturers and their products and their product selection lists on the drawings. It's important to partner with them early so that we can continue that recycling effort with them, because a lot of the manufacturers will take back the old carpeting if their new carpeting is going to be implemented in the project. So it's a little bit more labor intensive, and obviously it takes, that's where the premium costs come. Rather than just throwing it in a dumpster, you're stockpiling things and saving it to be picked up later. But again, it's all it makes a big impact on the environment, and those are the things that we want to try to do. And as the industry as a whole, not just C.E Floyd, all of us really need to be making those efforts to do those things.
You definitely touched upon about how getting started with sustainability as early as possible is very important to making sure our projects stay sustainable. But how does involving like pre-construction practices and estimating practices really have an effect and help with ensure that sustainability gets prioritized all throughout the project?
Right. Obviously, the key is to have a champion in the process, right? And we really hit upon that in our moderator event. That was probably one of the big focal points there.
Yeah.
So having the pre-construction person or even someone from the design side too is taking on that lead and just being that champion of the whole process is huge.
Yeah.
The E204, which is an AIA document, it clearly defines the sustainable goals for that project, and then we're all bound to make sure that they stay in the project. It's throughout the pre-con and estimating process, there's always that value engineering work where we're trying to reduce costs because budgets are going up and going down, hopefully down more than up, but that happens. And tagging those specific items that just are they're untouchables, right? Like certain equipment and those sustainable options, they're just not on the docket for discussion, right? In terms of value engineering. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways of having the pre-con and estimators involved in the very early process, because we can define those pieces, relay them back to the goals, and make sure that it continues on all the way through to when construction actually starts.
Yeah. And I feel like that kind of relates back to the general attitudes towards sustainability, is making it an untouchable item, making sure that it's, at the heart of what we're doing, because these buildings are going to be standing for
a long time.
Hopefully,
another key example for, with the pre-con process is really, getting, a peer consultant involved with the review of like the exterior of the building, right? And taking a look at, because a lot of these new sustainable products, they're new, right? And they all those details don't always typically jive with what we're doing on site, or aren't necessarily how the trades are used to installing certain pieces of equipment, right? Or like windows, for example. Like there's new innovative ways on installing the windows and the details on how everything comes together. And there's there's trades out there that they've installed windows for 30 years, so they're doing it the way that they know. So those are some of the challenges that we face, like in the field as well. Once we move from the pre-con process into construction, is educating, all the new tradespeople on the new ways of things are being installed, and having that peer review involved, or a commissioning agent be involved on the building envelope of the building as well. Just being on site, seeing maybe potentially an off-building mock-up get put in place, so that everybody learns the new ways, or learns the way that it's going to be done on that particular project. And also educating our superintendents and our field engineers to make sure that they're able to verify a lot of those things that are being put in place. So, that's really a key, is having that commissioning agent involved, because they're part of the champion of that process too. Is they know all the tips and tricks on it, and making sure that they're involved throughout the build process as well, and verifying that everything's going in properly and is going to get the best use.
Yeah.
No.
I think having that learning growth mindset is something that applies to like every facet of this industry. So yeah, I can totally see how it specifically relates to sustainability.
Right. And then even on to the owner side too, right? Where a lot of our facilities, folks, they're, the old mentality was make the adjustment so they don't get a phone call type mentality, right? And more behind the scenes and aren't involved in the meetings early. Where nowadays we want the facilities engineers at these initial meetings, part of the whole process, part of the build process, so that they know that this equipment is not simple as it used to be, right? And it's a lot more sophisticated. There's a lot more technology that's involved. So those 1 hour training sessions that are typically written in the specifications, those are kind of out the window. Now that these we need to educate and do a better job of when we leave the job that the building is actually operating the way it was designed. And having somebody involved in the process, maybe even a 5-year contract of being able to review the data that's coming in and making sure that it's running the way it was designed to run, and be most effective for the environment and most effective for the building usage is really, really important.
Yeah. Those are all the questions I had for you. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, just thank you for having me and being a part of this discussion.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and for prioritizing sustainability.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
To learn more about our company, go to cefloyd.com and follow us on social media. Thank you for listening. I'm Richie McNamara, and this has been Building People.